Good morning, good people. Welcome to the Real Talk TV Live on AOC Community Media, seen in the five parish area of South Louisiana, and also heard on Digital Soul Radio and also KIEE Digital. We had a few technical glitches, but we're not going to let that stop us. The technical glitches, we're going to give our guests, as promised, Professor Raymond Wimbush, black political researcher, scientist, and a professor who has been tenured, I think, at Morgan State University. We're going to bring him on. Good morning, Professor.
How you doing, Brother Jay?
Good morning. I'm so sorry, man. These technical glitches happen because we do live TV. And live TV sometimes have a tendency in these small rural areas to have those glitches. Welcome.
There's no problem whatsoever. I'm in Atlanta myself,
Yes.
and I'm glad to be on your show.
Yes, yes, and we had you on some of our other platforms a couple of years ago, and matter of fact, we
Right,
did a live video feed too, and we
right.
definitely had a great response from different individuals who were asking about you and who you were, and I said we would get him back, but we never was able to bring it to fruition. But I'm glad today to have you on at the end of the year. This is our last show for this year on Real Talk TV Live. It's a privilege to be on public access television, where you have a state of the art type outfit that brings the community together, and everybody takes part, whether you on the other side of the coin or whether you on the other side of the coin. But definitely, Professor Wimbush, I know you have an abbreviated time schedule on for our show, but tell us what do you think is going on with Black American politics that we should be concerned about here in South Louisiana?
Well, I think there's one major issue that a lot of, the news media has really minimized this discussion, and that is that the Supreme Court about a month ago said that they were going to take up, I don't like, well, the so-called President
Right,
Trump's birthright citizenship.
right,
Um, I have always told Black folk that they need to read the Constitution, and particularly the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment.
right,
And facing Black America right now is whether or not the Supreme Court is going to not grant, but uphold the idea of birthright citizenship. This is why they have been rounding up immigrants, some of whom are born in this country, and deporting them. Um, I got to give a brief history. I promise you
yeah,
it'll be very brief.
yeah,
But right after the Civil War, the southern states disputed the fact that the newly freed enslaved Africans were citizens.
hmm,
And they said, well, we know we took them from Africa, but they are not really citizens. And Dred Scott, as you know, in the Dred
right,
Scott decisions a few years prior to that, they said that they could never be citizens. Well, the 14th Amendment, or some people call it the Equal Protection Clause,
right,
guaranteed Black folks citizenship in the United States. Now Trump is challenging this, and he argues that people who are born in the United States, I mean, physically born in the United States, are not really citizens if they, their parents or relatives or, were illegal immigrants or whatever. This has implications for Black folk because they could theoretically say that we are not
right,
we are not citizens of the United States because we are descended from those who don't have or didn't have birthright citizenship. I think that's one of the biggest things facing us right now. And what is happening to the mostly Latino immigrants in this country could very well happen to us.
yes, it's very troubling to have that situation come about when we were at the point where we thought that things were changing in America, and well, I wasn't under no impression that things were changing,
Right.
but a lot of our people, especially here in the South, in this part of Louisiana, and something I touched on yesterday about certain characters from this area, and I want you to touch on this since I know we have abbreviated time slot. Jeff Landry, our governor, yesterday
Oh
made
my
headline
goodness.
news. Yes, yes, yes. And
Yes.
this character who wants to be, and I know I'm doing commentary now, but it's a factual. He wants to be like Donald Trump. What you think of that whole notion of basically his quote, he's going to help President Trump take over Greenland.
Greenland. Well, there's Trumpism and there's also Landryism. You
Yes,
you live in the land of Landry,
right,
and
right.
this guy. I mean, I know he's your governor, but the fact that now Trump has appointed him as a special envoy to Greenland,
Uh-huh.
it's almost just ludicrous. I mean, with this entire regime under Trump, is just, you wonder how low it can go. You wonder how audacious it will become. And appointing Landry as special envoy to Greenland, as if somehow, Jeff Landry and Trump can actually take over another country. This is a country. This isn't an island or anything else. Like, this is a nation. Like, he has said the same thing about Canada ought to become the 51st state of the United States. It sounds so crazy. And that Landry agreed to even do this, reflects more on him than the idea that it can
Right.
happen.
Uh, there's a lot of buzz about whether or not Donald Trump will last with his perceived health issues. And
Right.
we saw on yesterday where, not yesterday, over the weekend, that the vice president, so-called vice president, another character, and you certainly got different cast of characters with this administration, J.D. Vance, who gave a speech at the Turning Point USA convention, and
Yeah,
he basically gave a speech about white naturalism.
that's
Naturalism.
right.
Yes. Yeah. So tell us a little bit
Well,
about what you think about J.D. Vance stepping into the role of being president in case this person who's leading this administration do not last. Tell us what you think about that.
well, the entire I call it the maggot movement. The entire maggot movement right now is in utter chaos. At that speech, Ben Shapiro, who keynoted the conference, just called out by name. He called out Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens, uh, that guy that used to be on Fox. What's his name? I'll think of it in a minute. But he called them out by Megyn Kelly and basically denounced them, said that they were charlatans and hucksters, as if he isn't one. But more importantly, the idea that J.D. Vance, who's, an ambitious person, engaged in conspiracy theories, as the chief of staff wrote in Vanity Fair this past week, is ludicrous. J.D. Vance doesn't have the following that Trump has. The other ironic thing is that he's married, as you know, to a woman of color. She's Indian.
Mm-hmm.
And the white supremacists don't like this. There's been talk and gossip about the widow of Charlie Kirk and J.D. Vance that I'm not going to engage in, but most of us have heard about it. And so somehow he has to convince white supremacists like Nick Fuentes and much of the maggot movement that he can, somehow become the heir apparent of the maggot movement. Trump is very, very ill. There's one very well-known physician right now says that he has about 7 to 8 months to live. We'll see.
Wow.
And I think that, what we've got to realize now is that Trump's first term and now this term, when a history is written, they are literally going to say this is the low point of so-called American democracy, second only to enslavement of Black folk and the extermination of native people in this country. This is an outlaw administration. It's a criminal administration, and J.D. Vance is very much a part of that.
Yes, yes. And the concern is for the Black community that here in the South, especially in our area, we see that what the opposition or the political parties in what we call MAGA or Republicans in the state of Louisiana, they seem to do their racism a little different. They use culture to keep us thinking that everything is okay, despite that the numbers,
Mm.
Louisiana is 49th, basically in every category. I say that all the time. The proof is in the
Yeah.
pudding. But yet every weekend, we got the boots on the ground crowd, and here I go. I'm gonna get a lot of flack from the party people out here, and we can't dance our way out of this racism. And we'll go to
No.
downtown Lafayette, which has a vibrant cultural tourism where we have bands and lot of culture where we get together and sing and dance and party. But yet
Hmm.
the people are so separated when it comes to politics, and they voted 80% overwhelmingly for the MAGA type crowd. Jeff Landry, Attorney General. We got an Attorney General who actually is worse than Jeff Landry because they traded
Wow.
places. And Liz Morrell, she actually came out and said she supports Donald Trump's order to blow the boats out of the water. She put a post about
Yep.
that. So we have some people who are from Lafayette, and right now on the screen, people can see it. I'm gonna put a picture up. The number of people who are involved in anti-blackness, whether it's the Voting Right Act that's before the Supreme Court. You got Kevin Roberts, who's head of the Heritage Foundation, who's a Lafayette High graduate and UL graduate. You got Jeff Landry from our area, the governor in this area. You got Nancy Landry, the Secretary of State, who actually was the person effective in getting that over to the Supreme Court. And you got Liz Morrell, who's arguing the case on behalf of for the MAGA movement and Trump against the Voting Right Act, where Louisiana stand poised whether the decision go affect other jurisdictions. So all of these people are from my area,
Yes.
Professor
Yes.
Wimbush, my area, and we don't have our black politicians speaking out on that. That's what I can't understand. Go ahead.
Well, you bring out a great point, Brother Jay. What we've got to do as Black people is to speak out against all of these things immediately when they happen. The maggot movement is very, very aggressive.
Right.
They rely on. I always say they rely on two states that I see, and that's Florida and Louisiana
Mhm.
for their leadership. I think that's one reason why Trump moved to Florida. And Louisiana, for some reason, you know better than I do, they have brought a lot of, you can go back to Huey Long. For some reason, Louisiana has always been like a hotbed of racist politicians. We can talk about David Duke, Huey Long. And even currently, your lieutenant governor and all these other people,
Yes.
and the attorney general. And I
Clay
think that
Higgins,
with Black,
Clay Higgins.
right, exactly.
Mhm.
I think with Black politicians who are locally elected in Louisiana have to speak out against this stuff. And it doesn't matter what part of the state they're from. They can be from New Orleans. And, right now, New Orleans, the mayor's in trouble.
Yes.
Right now. But Black politicians must speak out. And some of these Black politicians, and it's not limited to, Louisiana, because all over the country, whereas Black people elect Black politicians because they think they're going to be transformational. They're not going to, they want them to change a system that has been oppressive to Black people. And unfortunately, many of Black elected officials in the United States now are trying to conform to a system that is already corrupt. So, I'm in Atlanta right now, and we know that Maynard Jackson years ago was transformational. He changed things. We can talk about Carl Stokes up in Cleveland, who changed things. you know, but now it seems that many, not all, but many Black elected officials are trying to conform to the system and try to, wiggle their way out of denouncing it. And so I would, encourage Black politicians and elected officials in Louisiana to speak out against this racial madness that's occurring there right now.
Yes, yes, and we don't want to be just in the business when we do these talk shows because the media right now is basically coined a term from one of our frequent callers. The media is trash right now.
It
CBS
is.
basically gave
It
in
is.
a long time ago, and you saw the change when MSNBC, even the so-called liberal part of the press, got rid of Joy Reid and others, and people
Right.
just start falling by the wayside. Don Lemon at CNN. Whether or not you're a fan of those, they were more to the left of center than those who are there now. So we don't have any media operation. And so when we have these valuable time slots, we don't know how long Brandon Carr, another Project 2025 organizer,
Right.
will be cutting even public access television shows or putting pressure on local governmental officials to get rid of shows like this and others that we have in our circle. So, what message, while you're on the air, you have for Black folks in Louisiana and around the world?
Well, one thing that Black folk have to do, we have to look at alternative forms of media. We saw this past week, for example, that Brandon Carr uh, deliberately cut out a segment on 60 Minutes that was dealing with the prison down in El Salvador that some people claim are the worst or is the worst in the world, and that they're seeing a lot of immigrants. I think that Black folk, I mean, the other example is this, how MSNBC changed its name to MS Now because NBC was being sued, and attacked by the Trump administration. So MS Now kind of distanced themselves. You mentioned getting rid of Joy Reid and other people like that, and she's been hounded, to the ends of the earth. So what I do, I look at a variety of foreign media. Like I like reading and listening to Al Jazeera. I think that you can get information on the internet, but I think you got to vet it better.
Right.
Because a lot of the information on the internet is inaccurate. Some of it is, but I think we've got to look at alternative sources of media, and we have to turn to our own people. I read newspapers from Ghana and throughout Africa to understand some of the things that are going on in the United States. You can't believe everything that they're saying about Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso right now. If you rely on American media, you can't believe it, but you can read newspapers and other forms of media. And then Black folk have to start saying, what are we going to do if there's a major crisis? At the institute that I direct at Morgan State University, we did some research and found out only 34% of Black Americans have passports, whereas white Americans is something like 50% or close to half. We need to all have passports. I told people that because otherwise you're limited in the case of an emergency to only going within the United States to find shelter or whatever. So I think that we've got to do much better. We have to have a stronger, immersion in Black history so that we know that there's been times like these, but not as overt as these times have been, other than during the period of enslavement.
And you at Morgan State, and you brought up HBCU, and the concern with this administration, even the funding when it deals with Black studies and Black history, to all the institutions in the HBCUs.
They're all under attack.
What's your concern?
Yeah. Well, they're all under attack. I mean, I feel more comfortable at Morgan State, which is an HBCU in Baltimore, than I would right now, if I could, to be at Harvard. I mean, I've got colleagues in Florida who have lost their jobs because they were teaching in Black Studies programs. Uh, this DEI has become synonymous with Black people
Right.
primarily, and women's studies, Black studies, Latino studies are all being cut out of curriculum at TWIs, or traditionally white institutions. At Morgan State, where I teach, I feel freer to say what I want to say in a class than if I were at a Vanderbilt University where I used to teach years ago. So I think that the fear that I have about HBCUs right now is that Trump is going to come after them. Um, we've been fortunate at Morgan State to get large donations from Jeff Bezos' ex-wife to a tune of
Yes.
$100 million. And some people don't know the background of that. Mackenzie was a student of Toni Morrison when Toni was teaching at Princeton University. And Toni Morrison, when she was asked by Mackenzie what she could do with the Black community, she said, donate to HBCUs. So we have an ancestor, Toni Morrison, right now, who is, even though she's no longer among us in this realm, helping us and stuff like this. But Black people have to be realized that HBCUs are vulnerable institutions. I have warned many Black colleges around this country that they have to be prepared for the violence that we've seen on campuses like Brown University and other schools, because Black colleges are so open to the public at so many levels.
Yeah, yeah. And you talked about people losing their job, Black unemployment, according to a lot of the labor statistics from independent outlets, saying that Blacks unemployment has went up exponentially. I
Yes.
mean, this is another troubling aspect because they take away our means to survive is to take away our power as individuals.
Right. It's no coincidence that when Elon Musk and Trump both entered politics and this with this administration, that they went after the federal government and to cut back. 13% of all Black people in this country worked, and I'm saying worked for the federal government, and they knew by downsizing departments like education department, health and human services, that was going to increase Black unemployment, which it has in right now. And so again, we have to go deeper in our analysis of the racism that is going on in this country right now, and really, be prepared for even worse things that happen during 2026. There's an assumption right now, and I've talked to colleagues on the Hill in DC, that there's going to be a midterm election in 2024, 2026. It's no coincidence that all these cities where Trump has sent troops have Black mayors: Los Angeles, Chicago, Washington, D.C., Louisiana. And because they know that Black people vote overwhelmingly Democratic. And one person I talked to on the Hill said, she told me, she said, we have to assume that there may not be a 2026 midterm election because Trump may declare martial law in these cities that he considers, quote, crime ridden, which they weren't, and so forth. So we've got to be deeper in our analysis and be prepared for the worst to happen to us.
Yeah, Professor Wimbush, the aspects of also the when we talked about unemployment in the Black community, to the reclassification of certain professional titles. I have
Yeah.
two nieces that are professional nurses, and they make a good living off
Yes.
of that. And to reclassify that is troubling because I think it's a racism move because you have a lot of Black nurses or professionals and people working at that type of industry, medical industry, to go after the reclassification of those titles. What say you on that?
Well, it's again, sometimes racism is overt, like, the Ku Klux Klan or lynchings and stuff like that. But a lot of times racism is very subtly introduced. So the reclassification of jobs such as X-ray technicians, nursing, uh, I think another one was, what is it called? The uh,
Professional, I think it's something to do
there's
therapists,
several of them.
therapists. Yeah.
Yes, right. This is a subtle way, but it's a racist way of saying if we have a lot of professional black nurses, which we have, that we don't have to give any type of monetary support, scholarships for those positions. It's another way of like lessening our presence in the workforce or hampering it or blocking our entry into professions that historically everyone considered nurses professional or dental assistants and so forth. My daughter is a dentist and she got help from the government while she was in school at Meharry Medical College in Nashville. So I think that we don't oftentimes look at how racism is underneath the surface, but it's there. And as Neely Fuller, one of my mentors always said, if you do not understand racism, white supremacy, what it is and how it works, you will be confused by everything that you think you understand. And many of us are very confused about racism and how it works its way into hurting us in ways that are not so overt.
Yes, and the problem is education. To do away with one history is to change the
That's
narrative of
right.
what people thinks. Uh, I want to touch on this lastly. Again, I know we had went a little past what we say. Uh, Gun violence in our community is a concern, and every day is a tragic situation in our black community. I
Yeah,
have this thing I say, and I'm trying to be careful the way I say it. I say when we hear a lot of young people talk about things like that, they ops, the people who are the opposition, some of our black youth has to be educated in a way to know who are your real ops, and to take that energy that you have to, get angry at a person who looks like you over petty stuff. Take that energy and turn it into mobilizing our youth to get involved in politics and get involved in the everyday community instead of uh, looking for your ops to roll on them, to pull out the switch, whatever. I'm just saying it. Know who your ops are, young people. And that's I'm trying to emphasize all the time. Know who's your opposition. Know who's trying to make legislation that go hurt your community and to keep you behind the eight ball. So uh,
no,
that is a
no,
problem.
it is a problem. It's a challenge. Maya Angelou said, we have, and she, not only her, but many other people, we have been taught to hate who we see in the mirror. And we've got to start loving the person that we see in the mirror, as well as others who look like us in the mirror. Tom Burrell and I met with him years ago. He's a great black advertising executive. And we had lunch a few years ago, and he's told me, he said, Ray, for the past 500 years, there's been an advertising campaign for us to hate each other, not only for whites to hate us or many whites to hate us, but for us to hate each other. And that advertising campaign, we have to understand that it has been successful. What we have to do in everything that we do, where we go, what we tell young people, is that we have to learn to love each other. And I know that sounds corny and all of that. During this time of year, we see Kwanzaa coming up in a few days. We'll celebrate Christmas, but deny the importance of Kwanzaa or Malcolm X's birthday. And young people have to know more about our history than any other group in our community. I teach a class, at Morgan State called Theories of Personality, and we go through all these people like Freud and everything else. But I also teach them about Horace Mann Bond, a great black psychologist. Kenneth and Mamie Clark. And young people are eager to learn this history, and many of them have never heard about it. And this is why Trump and his minions are going after Black studies, because they know, as Malcolm said and others, that a tree without its roots, you have to know the roots, or otherwise you will be lost psychologically. And that's why many of us, young people particularly, are killing each other with guns, getting mad at other people, and not understanding who the real enemy is.
Yes, yes, yes. And again, I know you have to go.
Yeah.
What? How can we support what you're doing, or contact you for an event? We like to have you down here in Louisiana. In a future date, whenever you come this way, just drop us a line, and we try to accommodate you. And we still have some progressive people in this area, believe it or not, in the heart of
Sure you
Jeff
do.
Landry country. And I'm not elevating him up to some superstar, a superstar idiot, and that's coming from me. But we'd love to have you down here and have a speaking engagement, and to get our people motivated, because we need new, fresh leadership in this area. I'm serious. I'm putting out a SOS call, Professor Wimbush, to bring the leadership down here to this part of Louisiana.
Look, I'd be happy to come down there anytime. I'll give out my phone number, and I actually answer my phone, or will return a call. It's 443-885-4800. That's 443-885-4800. You can follow me on Facebook under the name Ray Wimbush. And again, I'd be happy to come down to Louisiana. I've spoken in New Orleans before, but I'd like to come to your part of the country as well.
Yeah, well, the food is great. It goes down good, but you might have some health problems if you eat it every day. But the thing is, man, good people like Brother Darrell Muhammad of the Community Defender, been a long time show, who's a friend of Brother Adrian, who you and I talked on
yesterday, right.
Shout out to Brother Adrian. Yes, yes.
Now, Louisiana has a rich history of resistance, too. The largest slave revolt that occurred, the 1811, what they call German Coast Rebellion, occurred in Louisiana. And again, a lot of our young people don't know that information. And teaching history to our children should be the top priority of parents, teachers, and politicians, particularly Black politicians.
Yes.
And you can do that as a Black politician.
Recent death of Brother Alameen, better known as H. Rap Brown from Baton Rouge.
Sure.
I mean, that's
right. That's right.
Brother Jajaga from Morgan City down the road from me. Pratt, he don't like to be called Pratt, but Brother Jajaga, we met with him several times before his death. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a good friend of mine, and Jajaga was just a powerful person. He was one of those African, in America that left this country, before he passed, because he said he didn't want to have anything else to do with it. Absolutely.
Okay. Well,
look, this has been good.
Well, Professor Wimbush, I really appreciate you giving me that time. Again, the worrying, that's us in Louisiana. We'll worry you, but, I'm glad we got you on.
Thank you. Thank you. Keep up your good work too, brother.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Peace.
Peace. There you go, people. You just heard from Morgan State Professor Professor Ray Wimbush on the show, an exclusive here on Real Talk TV. And we're going to be bringing more shows like this and having more engaging conversation from different aspects around the country and the world. And we're going to make that effort long as we're on the air at AOC Community Media. We want to thank the staff and management of AOC Community Media for getting us on. And again, thank you so much.
Expressed on this program are those of the host, guests, and callers, and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of AOC Community Media, Cox Cable, LUS Fiber, or any entities they represent. Thanks for listening.
Yes, we're back here. Again, I want to emphasize, Sister Khadijah, I know you was calling the line, but you have we had our guest on that line. You could call the line on the screen, area code 337-272-8849. Our last Real Talk TV show of the season, the year ending. We have our show come on every other Tuesday on AOC Community Media. We were on a little late, but we got on. That's the main thing. Shout out to all the people that are watching. A shout out to Brother Wallace Senegal, who'll be on Friday. Despite there's a holiday, I think he'll be on Friday. Him and Brother Oscar and Brother Mike Brown. I don't know if Mr. Kevin has a live show since that's holiday, that Christmas Day. He'll be on in replays, and you got Brother Darren Muhammad, who'll be back after the holidays. We just ran a vintage older show with him and Carl Cavalier, the former Louisiana State Police officer, who basically broke open the case of Ronald Green. We had that. We'll be running that replay on for the year closing out. Also, I'll be on live on the holiday eve on tomorrow on this very same station, the Open Line Radio, at 9 Central Standard Time, and we'll just open up the line, or we'll play some footage from the past. You know, we don't know what we're gonna do. So this is the basically year-ending show in review, and we could get into Kwanzaa also. So again, we want to thank. Let me get his graphic off screen. Professor Wimbush for gracing our television screen today, and I hope you got something from him, Professor from Morgan State. So much is going on. I want to play this, and we spoke briefly about Jeff Landry, and I want to play this clip from the Midas Touch Network concerning what they are saying about Jeff Landry. So check this out.
Donald Trump is having a catastrophic Monday before Christmas, and he wants to create distractions as he continues to cover up the Epstein files. As I predicted last night and this morning, when Donald Trump was posting about appointing a special envoy, Jeff Landry, the current governor of Louisiana, to be the special envoy to Greenland, that Donald Trump was trying to threaten war against Greenland and Denmark. Greenland is still part of the Kingdom of Denmark. That's precisely what Donald Trump wants to do, to create a distraction. And also, Donald Trump wants to try to impress Vladimir Putin, right? Putin's envoys were in Miami for the past 48 hours. So Donald Trump, and by the way, Trump was in Palm Beach while they were in Miami. They were right next to each other. So Trump was trying to show off to Putin. Okay, I see what you're doing with Ukraine. You want to see me do it with Canada? You want to see me do it in Greenland? You want to see me do it in Venezuela? That's what Donald Trump is doing right here. I mean, look, I'm not being hyperbolic, right? There was the post from Donald Trump last night. I'm pleased to announce that I'm appointing Governor of Louisiana, Jeff Landry, as the special envoy to Greenland. Then I pointed out, yeah, that's because he's threatening war with Denmark and Greenland. Then Governor Jeff Landry posted, "Thank you, Donald Trump. It's an honor to serve you in this volunteer position to make Greenland a part of the U.S."
We're back here at Real Talk TV, and we have a caller. Caller's our guest host. She missed the previous guest. How you doing, Sister Khadijah?
Yes, good morning to you, Brother G. And yes, indeed. And I don't know what makes you think I missed the previous guest, because I was listening big time. I really enjoyed it.
I'm sorry.
I wanted to mention about Nicki Minaj.
Okay.
Nicki Minaj somehow is in support with
Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk and Trump them. So I'm just not understanding what the two have in common, or what the three have in common. You know, because what Charlie Kirk preached, and you could still catch it on videos, was so divisive.
Right.
You know, how in the world can they go ahead and put a flag at half state for Charlie Kirk, when you had the young people that had gotten killed. The National Guard, I can't think of the young lady name, had gotten killed, and no flag was at half that for her, for them. So I'm trying to say what else is the undercut? The underdealing.
She spoke at that Turning Point USA so-called convention with Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica Kirk, and J.D. Vance was there, and he gave a speech. Now, I would, as a black woman, I would have to get up and walk out when I heard J.D. Vance, the wannabe successor to Trump, say white folks don't have to apologize no more for being white because we are the most oppressed people. He said they're the most oppressed people. Of course, J.D. Vance would get millions and millions of dollars for doing nothing but oppressing people. He would say that. Don't your oppressor always say, I'm oppressed because you oppressed? Because I call you a racist. You become the racist because I'm calling you a racist.
but not only that, who have always benefited from white privilege? Only white folks benefit from white privilege. When you look at it, what they actually doing with Project 25, what they're actually doing with we don't want nothing to do with no cultural diversity here or no cultural diversity there. That's because they are ashamed of what their forefathers done and have continued to do. No, you look at the Jews. They received so many millions of dollars for the 5 years that they was in that internment camp. However, you got blacks that have built this country. We can't even say the entire word reparation. Let's split the word in half. Let's go with repair. Or EPAIR. They don't even want to give you anything to repair so that we can leave a legacy, not something for our children and our children's children.
Right. And for Nicki Minaj to all of a sudden cross over on that situation. And it started with when Trump say he wants to go to war in Nigeria because they're killing Christians out there in Nigeria. They're killing Christians, and he want to send troops out there. That's a lie, just like in the Venezuela stuff. That's to go over there and take over the one of the largest African countries where they have a lot of minerals and to have dominance in Nigeria. And so that put Nicki Minaj to jump in and say, yeah, he's right. Because they're killing Christians out there, I want to support Donald Trump, and that started her down that road. So I sometimes I don't understand these rappers like 50 Cent. Now he giving a lot of money. Yeah, you talking, Sister Khadijah?
No, I'm not talking.
Well, 50 Cent, that's another one. People seem to think he's doing a lot of helping the state of Louisiana with buying up real estate but he actually is getting $50 million in investment from the state of Louisiana and the Shreveport area to do all of that. Now, he's going to bring a balanced media where you won't have all that killing and shooting and profanity use and helping our youth stop hating each other. Or he's going to just continue to get rich off of investment that other people are giving to him. So you got to ask that question, all of these rappers supporting the Trump-like mindset, the Jeff Landry mindset. I'm not down with that.
Well, let me also say this, too, G. A lot of times we be right on point of things,
right?
And a lot of times you got to have an open mind to be able to see what it is that we're discussing, what it is that we're telling our community.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at the fact that 91.7% of white folks, and you might as well just say white men, they are the share of all shows created by race. By race, you got 91.7%. Now you have 3.3% that's black, 2.5%. So 2.5% is Asian. the Asians, you know. So when it comes down, well, you know, oh, white folks look out for white folks. Uh, they look out for each other no matter how you look at it. I don't care when they were giving out all of these land grants and
Hmm.
everything like that. If you was black, you couldn't get it. But today, with what they're showing about all the shows that's being created, you know,
Right.
91.7% of it is white male.
Hmm.
You,
Okay.
you know, well, you got a few. They're putting a few white women and stuff, but blacks is only doing 3.3%.
Right.
Asians is only doing 2.5%. So what does that? What else does that say? You're in the boardroom. You're in the boardroom and with just them. You can't really present the true meaning of what it is that you're trying to produce because the odds are already against you.
Hmm.
Now they're gonna put in like I know here in Louisiana, in Shreveport, you got 25 cents, who's buying up everything and stuff like that. That's what I want to. I know I can't use vulgarity on the show,
Right.
but that is a complete jackass. You know, no matter how you look at it, that's a complete jackass. You know, and he really hurts your eyes when you look at him. You don't sometimes you don't find people that are not as attractive. They really have like a really good demeanor, but you see him who he hurts your eyes when you're looking at him. You don't know if it's a robot, what part of it that you know. But he has such his heart is so horrific. It's
Yeah.
so diabolical.
Well, he did the documentary on P Diddy, and the thing is, you want to expose people if they're doing crime, but you go all out to do a documentary on another black person. That tells me a whole lot, and they got so many others who done that with OJ and others. And the problem is, you got so many you could talk about, but
That's
you got
right.
this personal beef, and that's what these youngsters carry in the street. Just today we had yesterday they had a horrendous shooting in the city of New Iberia, and I keep emphasizing to our youth that know who your real ops are, as opposed to people who you got a long settling beef with. They got people want to take away your grandmother and your mother's help, SNAP benefits, their Social Security, put them in poverty, and or even round them up like the ICE agents are doing. So why are you making your ops a person who looks like you? Know who your ops are, young man. Educate yourself. Get involved in the community. Take that energy that you might have to use against your so perceived ops in the street, and know who your ops are in the political situation that's keeping you living the way you're living. All right, Khadijah.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
I totally agree.
Yes, yes.
I
So
totally agree.
I want to thank you. Anything else you want to
Thank you
add? If
so
you got
much.
some announcements, I guess we could get to them on the open line radio show on tomorrow.
Okay, that'll work.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
all right. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay. Bye
Right.
bye.
Right. And again, people, I'm not trying to, on this show to be judge on certain things, but we got to be able to put down these guns in our community. And you got so much other forces against your community. And I know in a close knit society of culture of our younger people, our younger generation, or even older people, we have this passionate thing about when we get angry at something, or we have some old grudges, and try to use your another way of doing it because it takes a toll on the community. And this is how they want to see our community. They want to see us at constantly at odds with each other, fighting each other, angry at each other, while they turn up the ratchet on us on the greater level. They want to do away with voting right in the state of Louisiana, and to keep you in a state of let's say a perpetual state of poverty and social upheaval. That's how they want to keep you. And some people say, well, no, well, who's them? What's the conspiracy? Well, it's showing his face now. The conspiracy is showing his face, and it's in the White House, and you could see it. It's a trickle down. That's the trickle down stuff that Ronald Reagan talked about, but it's a trickle down cause and effect that you're seeing being played out every day here in the United States with politics and social upheaval. That's the thing. So that's why they want you to have that gun in your possession, not for your protection to live, but to start cause a lot of destruction. So they won't have to send, for the black community, they don't have to send the ICE agents in for us. They just have to put guns on the street, and they know we got these long-standing beef. That's my perception of what's going on. I know it's not as simple, as complicated, but people, talk to the youth. Tell them, know who your real ops are. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm going to go back to the video, people. I really appreciate you listening. Check this video out from the Midas Touch Network.
No way affects my position as governor of Louisiana. I mean, so cavalierly threatening war with another NATO nation, an ally, although I don't know how Denmark and Greenland consider the United States an ally after the United States consistently threatens war against it. And you have a very strong response that was issued from Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen and the Premier of Greenland, Jens Fredrik Nielsen. Here was the joint statement that they just issued. National borders and state sovereignty are deeply rooted in international law. These are fundamental principles. No one can annex other countries, not even by invoking arguments of international security. Greenland belongs to the Greenlandic people. We expect respect for our shared territorial integrity. No one must be allowed to change national borders by force, neither politically nor militarily. Then Denmark's foreign minister, Lars Rasmussen, told a Danish television show on Monday that he was summoning Washington's ambassador to Copenhagen, Ken Howry, to the ministry in the coming days to get an explanation. Rasmussen said he was deeply upset by this appointment of a special envoy, and particularly upset by the envoy, by Landry's statement, which he said Denmark found completely unacceptable. And look, Landry's a maniac. Have you ever seen this guy speak in Louisiana before and the types of things that he talks about? Louisiana really screwed up big time by putting this MAGA maniac there. He's hurting Louisiana, which is like one of the worst ranked in many categories right now. And it's just a sad thing that as Donald Trump's covering up a child sex trafficking ring, he's now provoking wars. Venezuela, with Greenland, and it just feels like he's just going back to that playbook that we saw when this year started. Talk about what Donald Trump also is doing. He's officially denied Colorado's request for disaster relief funding following the Elk and Lee fires and the Western Slope flooding this summer. Donald Trump demanded that Colorado release a January 6th insurrectionist and someone who was involved in trying to overthrow the results of the 2020 election named Tina Peters. Colorado refused to do it. It's the state's rights. She was convicted. Donald Trump doesn't have the right to issue a pardon there, so he issued a fake one. So now Donald Trump is retaliating against Colorado. But frankly, he would find pretext to retaliate against them, whether it was Tina Peters or some other issue. I mean, I live in California. Donald Trump is not providing the needed disaster relief to California. I just interviewed the governor of North Carolina, Governor Josh Stein. Donald Trump has provided no new appropriations for Hurricane Helene disaster relief. Biden immediately approved everything. Trump has been slow rolling Biden's disaster relief to go to North Carolina, and Trump didn't approve any new disaster relief. No, what Trump wants to do is put all this money into ICE to build up his private police force, private military force, the Border Patrol, Gestapo, to engage in this state-sponsored terrorism that you see across the country right now with people being thrown into concentration camps. That's what this regime does. Senator John Hickenlooper Senator of Colorado says this isn't a game. These are people's lives. Coloradans are trying to rebuild their lives after fires and floods destroyed homes and communities across our state. Trump's decision to reject our disaster requests and therefore withhold resources as our communities continue to recover is unacceptable. And look, I mean, whether it's California or Colorado or North Carolina, these are resilient states who are paying taxes to the federal government, propping up the federal government. And what's the federal government doing in return? Attacking the states at some point. Enough is enough. By the way, just a quick reminder, make sure you hit subscribe to this YouTube channel. You may think you're subscribed, but you may not actually be subscribed. So double check. We're trying to hit 6 million subscribers before the end of this year. And especially after what CBS did and its censorship and its capitulation, independent news is more important now than ever. Just as I mentioned, one of the things that I think spurred Donald Trump's threats against Greenland, the renewed threats, I just think part of it is that the Russians are in Miami and they're hanging out with Trump's crew. I mean, look, you have Special Envoy Steve Witkoff saying the following. Over the last 2 days in Florida, the Russian Special Envoy Kirill Dmitriev held productive and constructive meetings with the American.
Yeah, we're back here at the Open Line Radio Show. And we have a caller on the line, and I think it's Brother Wallace. Good morning, Brother Wallace.
Yes, sir. Good morning to you, Brother Jay, and good morning to your listeners and all those that have ears to hear.
Yes, yes.
Brother Jay, you had a very important guest on earlier on your show.
Yeah.
Professor, a person that teaches, read on educational, Black history. My biggest thing right now is you got Black people trying to get Black people not to vote. And when I look at that, I look at it like you take a person that's in New Iberia called Blake Miguez that's going to be running for office.
Right.
And to me, they're getting paid to shut Black people down from voting.
Right.
Voting, being registered to vote is almost like having a passport. That you have rights to be here, you have rights to vote. Look at the dilemma that we're in now, because people is not really paying attention to their civil duties, what they have to do in order to maintain their city, their state, and their country.
Right.
Look what we have, because we are not voting in record numbers. We are not taking our household and going out and vote for the candidate that be best suiting us, and for someone to say what voting have gotten us, and maybe we haven't gotten enough out of voting. But the thing of it is, we are getting more educated now in order to cast our vote the way it should be cast. In our past, you had elected officials coming out, buying your vote, and, far as I'm concerned, Blake Miguez is a mega, He even
Extremist.
said it, he was a mega.
Yes.
Yeah, So for a Black person to tell another Black person not to vote, it seems like Blake Miguez is paying these people to tell Black folk not to vote, or paying these people to keep Black folk away from the poll. And it's wrong, for another Black person to tell a Black person not to vote, because they don't vote because they see some prison being built, thing of it is educate people on how to vote, why not to vote, you know, and that's going to be our big dilemma. You know, 2026 is coming up, Brother Jay. I know this is going to be our last conversation.
We'll be on tomorrow.
On Real Talk.
We'll be on, on Real Talk. Yeah, but on Open Line, we'll be on
Real
tomorrow.
Talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this will be our last conversation on Real Talk, you know, until 2026.
Yeah.
See?
And
So,
one of the things
know,
I want to see in 2026 is we hold these elected officials to the fire, meaning make them do their job, even if you have a supermajority. Don't sign up to be on the football team if you're scared to play the opposition, even when they have overwhelmingly powerful players on the other side, in a sense, you know?
Yeah, well, you know, the only one don't get touched really is the kicker, you know? And every now and then they get touched, you know?
Yeah.
But
and I know you're proud.
Scared,
and I know you're proud, and I'm sorry to cut you. I just want to get this out. I know you're proud of your governor being appointed special envoy to the country of Greenland, which is not really a country in a sense that is being governed by another country across the water called Denmark. Now and he basically said he's gonna help. Jeff Landry said he's gonna help President Trump take over Greenland. What a flaming idiot that we have as a governor. It's so embarrassing, man. And you heard Professor Wimbush talk about that. And you also heard these guys from the Midas Touch Network basically talk about Jeff Landry. If he's being talked about in different circles in the same way, and you and I have been knowing that, what it says to the voters of Louisiana, what have they done electing this clown in office?
Well, he's not running Louisiana and on the up and up like he should be running it.
Right.
And to take something on, you understand me, that he don't know nothing about, you know, to me that's ludicrous, you know. So we got to understand what's going on. We got to wake up, open our eyes, get all the cobweb out of it, and let our cage be rattled, you know, because this is all disturbing, you know, to us as people, regardless whether you're black or white, you know, whether you're Republican or Democrat, independent, zero party, because I'm a zero party. Yeah. And guess what? Is offending me and is affecting me. You know? So I normally vote Democratic side, and I'm a state Democratic side. You know what I mean? Because they gave us the Democrat, you understand me, when they allowed us to vote. So that's why I'm going to stay there, you know. But originally, we were slave Republicans because the slave owners had us, and we was under their politics.
Right.
You understand me? And when they allowed us to have our own politics, they gave us the Democrat, you know? So we better understand, try to explain to your kids, you know, right now, they got the pagan holiday, Christmas coming up.
Right.
Everybody gonna be around the table and stuff like this here. We better start trying to explain to our kids what's going on for their future, because everything is Trump. Yeah. He wants to name everything Trump. And when he put everything Trump, we're gonna be on a dictator. We're on a dictatorship right now.
Right.
You know, it's not signed in stone in stone or nothing like this here, but it's coming. It's there.
Right.
So we better wake up and make sure that we understand what's going on for the future of our, not just our kids, but for the future of us too.
Yes,
Brother
sir.
Jay. You know, you always have a great program, man. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to be able to call in and voice my opinion.
Yes, sir.
You know,
Yes, sir.
but we going downhill like an 80,000-pound truck with no brakes.
Yes, definitely,
You know?
definitely.
and it's definitely wrong.
And
You know,
right.
all our history that we fought for in the past is trying to be erased.
Yes, yes.
All of it. You know, Dr. King holiday, Juneteenth. You know, this man is just wiping us out.
Yeah.
And if we don't wake up and understand what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
if all our black politicians is in it for the dollar, guess what? You won't be able to spend your dollars because you're a person of color.
Right, right.
You being a person of color, watch what they're going to do you. They're going to do you just like you're doing the people that elected you in office.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Brother Jay.
Thank you so
Hey,
much,
man,
Brother
we'll
Wallace.
talk tomorrow.
All right, all right. Thank
Right
you, brother.
on.
That's Brother Wallace. Yeah, you can catch Brother Wallace every Friday from 10 to 12 on AOC Community Media. We gave him a little bit of special effects, applause on the open line, on the Real Talk television show. Thank you so much, brother. There you go. You heard from Brother Wallace Senegal. Again, Jeff Landry, special ambassador, special envoy to Greenland. What a joke! You know, they used to when they didn't want to deal with certain people, the Germans, they would send some of their people, soldiers and political people to the Russian front into the cold weather. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe Trump want to send him to the Russian front, or or put him into the northern part of the country where they could disappear him or something like that. That is so crazy. Anyway, so I want to get to another video with the good brother attorney of the Defiant Lawyers. He has a take on what there was an announcement, and I'm trying to pull it up concerning issues with Jeff. I think it's J.D. Vance. Let me pull it up right here. I think it's J.D. Vance talking about something concerning white people don't have to apologize for being white. I'm gonna bring it up in a few. It's certainly some things that does not make sense. But I want to play this piece from the Defiant Lawyers concerning the EEOC and the new directive about white folks being oppressed on the job and everywhere else where they apply for jobs and so forth. That's so crazy, man. These people are doing so many crazy things. And let me play this clip.
We recently heard the chairwoman of the EEOC. She put out a video where she encouraged white men to begin filing EEOC racial discrimination claims. Now, as a civil rights attorney, I understand exactly what she's doing. All right? This is Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, but it's more than that. It is also a federal statute. 42 USC Code Section 2000E-5 and other related statutes. And I'm going to walk you through some of that statute so you can understand precisely what they're doing. Because not only do we need to react to this, but we also need to get out ahead of this. All right, so let's go to another screen and we're going to listen to the video again, and then I'm going to walk you through precisely what is happening. All right, here she is.
I'm Andrea Lucas, Chair of the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Are you a white male who's experienced discrimination at work based on your race or sex? You may have a claim to recover money under federal civil rights laws. Contact the EEOC as soon as possible. Time limits are typically strict for filing a claim. The EEOC is the federal agency charged with enforcing federal anti-discrimination law against businesses and other private sector employers. The EEOC is committed to identifying, attacking, and eliminating all forms of race and sex discrimination, including against white male applicants and employees. Check out eeoc.gov to learn more and read our one-page explainer about DEI-related discrimination.
All right, now, you heard what she said, but do you understand what they're trying to accomplish? Now, I released a video or replayed a video yesterday, live. It was a live replay, where I said that they were trying to give white men reparations. What I want to go into today is the other purpose for what this woman just said and for why they're doing what they're doing. And none of this is new because they laid it out in Project 2025. I read Project 2025 and made multiple videos on Project 2025 last year, warning my community, do not vote for Trump, do not re-elect Trump, because they have laid out precisely what they're going to do, and it is not to our advantage. So what they're doing with the EEOC, with the Civil Rights Act of 64, Title VII, they laid it out. It was there in Project 2025. But so many in our community hadn't heard about Project 2025 and or rejected it when people like myself made multiple videos and tried to talk about it. I put out at least about 15 Project 2025 videos last year that reached millions of people, but apparently not enough to convince folks not to vote for this. Now, J.D. Vance put out a series of tweets on X yesterday, and it seemed like those tweets were coordinated with Ms. Lucas and the EEOC, or they sort of motivated her to put that video out. I'm not sure what happened. It's most likely just a coordinated effort because both of them played a part in writing Project 2025. So this is not happenstance. This is very much targeted and surgical, as I said in the video yesterday, very much structural, and it is targeted and surgical, structured against us African Americans. They just tend to see us as the greatest threat to white male dominance. They see us as the greatest threat to white male dominance. And so the fight against us has been unrelenting. All right, so let's read some of J.D. Vance's tweets. All right, Vice President J.D. Vance. A lot of people think DEI is lame diversity seminars or racial slogans at NFL games. In reality, it was a deliberate program of discrimination primarily against white men. That is false. This is incredible. This is an incredible piece that describes the evil of DEI and its consequences. So he is basically promoting an article. And we're going to read just a little bit of that article written by a young white dude talking about how he and his buddies have been harmed by DEI policies. Okay, we're going to get into that article in just a moment. But let's read some more of J.D. Vance's tweets. This is why the Trump administration has so dedicated itself to eradicating racist discrimination. We've eliminated funding for DEI, required government guarantees to certify that they're not engaged in DEI, fined a number of DEI employees, a number of DEI employees, a lot of blacks. As I said in my video yesterday, almost 1 million black folks have lost jobs during this second term of Trump, and it's been less than a year. And asked the great Harmet Dillion to aggressively prosecute all forms of racial discrimination. I did a video on Ms. Dillion warning the African-American community about what would happen if she was, in fact, confirmed. She was confirmed, and all that I said in that video is coming true. For too many Democrat leaders, racial discrimination was bad unless it targeted white men. This was an injustice, plain and simple. The above essays explains why. Now I'm going to debunk all that J.D. Vance is saying here in just a moment with some statistics. All right. He's trying to make white men victims, but trust me, white men are no victims. White men have created a lot of victims, but they're not the victim of this country we call America, the United States of America. He goes on to say one other thing. Over the weekend, I met with some friends who work at colleges. They told me they already see the effect of our policy in hiring, trainings, and promotions. There's a lot more to do, but I'm very proud of our team on this. Now, again, let's go back to what I said initially. What are they working for? White male dominance. White male dominance. So when he talks about hearing from some of his friends, I can almost assure you they're white men. All right? Let's look at some more. This is why the Trump administration has so dedicated itself to eradicating racist discrimination. If they were truly, truly trying to eradicate racist discrimination, people, they would be fighting on behalf of African American people who are victimized by racial discrimination more than any other group in the country. Do not be fooled by this. This is not about eradicating racial discrimination. This is about protecting, preserving white male dominance. You got to understand that. A lot of African Americans, especially men, didn't understand that and voted in support of this. They got bamboozled. I'll address that later. We've eliminated funding for DEI, required government guarantees to certify that they're not engaged in DEI, fired a number of DEI employees and asked the great Harmet Dillion to aggressively prosecute all forms of racial discrimination. For too many Democrat leaders, racial discrimination was bad unless it targeted white men. This was an injustice, plain and simple. The above essay explains why. One final observation about the above essay. So much of this was generational. Older white men created a system whereby they'd be fine, but millennials and Gen Z would get screwed. Cowardice and evil are a deadly combination. And it doesn't surprise me. Many online have been surprised about how blatantly J.D. Vance is talking about this. Once again, had you read Project 2025 or listened to those of us who tried to tell you about Project 2025, you wouldn't be surprised because they laid this out. They were as blatant in Project 2025 as this tweet is. Because that is the Donald Trump effect. He has told them to come out, be proud, Be proud of being essentially white supremacists for conquering the country. Be proud of this. Don't be ashamed. Speak up. Fight for your country. So this is absolutely not surprising had you listened to someone who read Project 2025. Now, let me begin to show you why this is all bogus. White men are not victims. White men firmly control this country. Firmly across all sectors, all systems, all structures. Whether it's the government, there's been one black president out of 47. Most of Congress, white. Majority white men. Most college presidents, white. Most CEOs, white. And when you look at black people specifically, I don't know what they fear because unemployment in the black community is rising, which is exactly what they intended. By attacking those DEI programs and putting forth an anti-DEI agenda, it was precisely to remove blacks, as he boasted about, removing blacks from these positions and replacing them with whom? White men. So the unemployment rate for black Americans, November 2025, we just got these numbers, is very high. It's 8.3. It's almost 3 times that of other groups. It's at least 2 times higher. And this is by design. Again, this is surgical. Here's another graph that shows, you see the bright line that's greatly above the green and the red line, which represents the white and black community. The white and Asian communities. So they are doing precisely what they said in Project 2025. So I don't know why he thinks that we're such a great threat when they are doing precisely what they said they would do, which is they're increasing black unemployment, which does what? Reduce the black middle class and reduce black wealth. Now, he kept referencing an article. Here's the article. All right. Here's the article that he says explains exactly why DEI is so bad for white men. All right. Let's read a little bit of this. The Lost Generation, Jacob Savage. Man, have they begun to really play the victim card. And they're not really the victims. And by the way, white men, and I want to look at you, full stop here. If any of you look at this video, if you are feeling like you're a victim in this country, it's definitely not because of black people. We have no power whatsoever to take anything away from you. We own less than 4% of this nation's wealth. We're not in those positions. You know who your enemy really is? It's the white billionaires. It's not us. It's the white billionaires. I wanted to look at you full stop on that. All right, let's read some of this article. In industry after industry, gatekeepers promised extra consideration to anyone who wasn't a white man, and then provided just that. With every announcement of promotions, there was a desire to put extra emphasis on gender or race, a former management consultant recalled. And when you don't fall into those groups, that message gets louder and louder and gains more and more emphasis. Well, why? Why do DEI programs focus on gender and race? Because the people in power are white men. That's why. White men. White men run the country still. On the one hand, you want to celebrate people who have been at a disadvantage. On the other hand, you look and you say, wow, the world is not rooting for you. In fact, it's deliberately rooting against you. I mean, that sounds just whiny. And it's definitely not true. Not only is the world rooting for white men have rigged the systems of America, Europe, Africa, and across the world to privilege white men. Once again, white men have been able to wield the power enough to rig the systems, the structures, the institutions across continents to privilege, to benefit, to advantage white men. And because Barack Obama became president, because the country took a few steps toward creating equity for others, now white men feel like they are the victims.
Yeah, people, we're going to pause this video for now. We're going to come right back to the video. Interesting video, and I like the way he breaks it down. And we do need explanation. Right now, you see black unemployment at an all-time high, and it does not just have anything to do with DEI. Also, it has to do a lot with this idiot who's running the government with the tariffs and so forth. You have many companies actually downsizing. Amazon announced on last week it could be laying off 14,000 workers. And how many workers out of those 14,000 workers will be black folks? You know, just to tell you, just to remind you, let alone in the education department, federal education department, and it trickles down to the state of Louisiana because, you know, they actually want certain curriculum to be taught, and they're going to be picking and choosing who they're going to be having to be employed as teachers and professionals in the education system in the state of Louisiana. So just pay attention. It's anti-blackness right now. It is called anti-blackness on steroids. And you can't live in a community and not just go around and make everything be all right. We're going to the next boots on the ground concert and so forth. Again, I don't have nothing against the concerts. They always saying, well, Brother Jay brings that up. I try to show you an example of what they want us to do for now. But just on last week in the state of Florida, there was a line dance contest with the brother who made Boots on the Ground, 803 Fresh, right? He was putting on a large concert, but guess what? The Florida law enforcement situation, which could be similar to what ICE is doing, came there and told him, you can't do it. We're going to shut you guys down. That's a threat to the peace and tranquility of the community. So what do you think they're going to be doing in the future in downtown Lafayette when they see too many black folks line dancing and having a good time? All of these things that you say we make conspiracy theories of in the last couple of years on these shows are coming to pass. You know, the things we told you about Jeff Landry and Liz Morel, the things we could go back and play that back. The things we told you about Donald Trump and his cohorts. We told you all of this on these shows that we do, the Community Defender with Brother Darrell Muhammad, Mr. Kevin Show, Defending Our Community, Brother Wallace Show, Community Matters. All of these shows that Mr. John Best Show even talked about some things. And we've been consistent in what we perceive as what's coming down the pike for us here in South Louisiana. It won't be long. you could be at the boots on the ground concert, and the ICE looking type agents could come and shut you down because they deem your gathering as a threat to national security or local security. So they could feed you all of it that this area is a diverse area and so forth. But again, I digress. I got the proof. I got the proof right here. I got the proof exactly right here. All of these players on the television screen, anti-voting right key players, are the people who are also engaging in anti-blackness. Liz Morrell, every time you look up, she got someone on her website for Medicaid fraud, people who just applied for Medicaid. That's who she's going after. That's who's a top criminal she's going after. Kevin Roberts, the architect of all of this stuff that's going on with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the useful idiot in the toolbox of white supremacy. Then you got the other useful idiot who's the governor of the state of Louisiana. Then you got Nancy Landry. All of these people from this area who are pushing the anti-black agenda. And even me speaking out makes me an enemy of them because I'm pointing out that they are anti-black. If I'm telling you people, these people are anti-black, I therefore, and people like me, are become the enemy of the state because we're speaking out about racism. And the proof is in the pudding. Because if they were not racist, why would they go all out to push this anti-voting right? It's not hurting them, but it's hurting black folk. Anything to hurt black folk. Go look at Kevin Roberts' resume from Lafayette. Go look at his resume as a heritage and go look at the things he's pushing, the ideas and the agenda. Go and look at that. Go and look at Jeff Landry's history from Alton Sterling to everything else. Go look at Liz Morrell and Nancy Landry. These people are not friends of us as black folks. They are against us. And so this is what we're trying to point out. So don't get mad at us for proving what they're doing. So they're telling you black folks, just stay in the corner and be ignorant. And we're not anti-black. No, we're not anti-black. We don't want to eliminate that second black congressional seat. We don't want to eliminate, but we're in front of the Supreme Court pushing the agenda. Think about that, people. Anti-blackness is on steroids. And when you point out the anti-blackness that's going on in your community, they say you become the enemy because you're pointing it out. It's almost like the Klan days again. And the neo-Nazis in North America and the Klan down in the South, when we were telling them they were racist, and what they do, they come at night and round us up and burn a cross on our lawn, or they lynch us. And that's what they're doing. And until black politicians stand up to these people and tell them, y'all some Klansmen in this area, and y'all giving us that stealth racism bullshit about going downtown and singing dance, y'all gonna understand what's really going on. So let me go back to the video, and you guys could judge for yourself from Attorney Augustus Corbett of the Defiance Lawyers Network. Please get out and support this brother. Go to his website and support him.
That an injustice is being done to them because, again, they've lost just a little bit. And it's not a lot because, again, we only own 4% of the country's wealth. And so that they feel that they're losing, guess who's taking that from them? The billionaires. Anytime you got one man on this planet who is very, very close to being a trillionaire, that means he's taking a lot of money from a whole lot of people, including other white men. Yet they look at us. We're not your problem, white man. It's your billionaire white men friends, like the ones who actually support and back J.D. Vance, and like the one that he works for. As the Trump administration takes a chainsaw to the diversity, equity, and inclusion apparatus, and let me just say, what they're going to find out is after they take this chainsaw and cut through DEI programs, they're going to see a few years from now, wow, things didn't change for white men. Because we were never the issue. The few open doors that black folks started being able to walk through because of the Civil Rights Act, DEI programs, etc., that wasn't taken from whites. Again, when the CEOs of corporations are making 30 and 40 and 50 times the money that the workers are making, that mid-level managers are making, that's the problem. Not black people, not DEI, not civil rights. DEI as a series of well-meaning but ineffectual HR modules. Undoubtedly, there has been ham-fisted DEI programming that is intrusive or even alienating. Explain Kianga Yamahata Taylor in The New Yorker. But for the most part, it is a relatively benign practice meant to increase diversity, while also sending a message that workplaces should be fair and open to everyone. This may be how Boomer and Gen X white men experience DEI, but for white male millennials, DEI wasn't a gentle rebalancing. It was a profound shift in how power and prestige were distributed. Yet practically none of the thousands of articles and think pieces about diversity have considered the issue by cohort. And the reason I keep stressing the fact that it's the billionaires who are the problem is because these things were happening about the same time. At about the same time, DEI policies and programs were being initiated and implemented, was about the same time that the pay for CEOs, white male CEOs, etc., started just going through the roof. All right. Now, those policies have been in place to benefit rich white people for a long time. I can go back to Reagan with his trickle-down economics, which basically meant cut taxes so that rich people could get more and more and more tax breaks. And so that's been the goal of the Republican Party since at least Reagan. Before then, but it's at least Reagan. Right? And that's what they did. And that is exactly what Trump most recently did with the big, ugly bill. So that's the problem. But the working white man, not the billionaire, but the working white man has been led to believe it's all because of DEI. I guess they won't learn until a few years from now when this chainsaw has cut through these DEI programs, yet their incomes have remained the same. And speaking of incomes, the average working white man has about 20 times more wealth. Between 10 and 20, I've read different ranges, between 10 and 20 than the average black man or black family. So again, they're not really suffering, but they want more of what they see the billionaires doing. Again, that's not we didn't create that problem for them. We didn't create that problem for them. This isn't a story about all white men. It's a story about white male millennials in professional America, about those who stayed and who mostly stayed silent. The same identity, a decade apart, meant entirely different professional fates. If you were 40 in 2014, born in 1974, beginning your career in the late 90s, you were already established. If you were 30 in 2014, you hit the wall. Because the mandates to diversify didn't fall on older white men who in many cases still wield enormous power, they landed on us. Now, another question. 2014. Who was in office in 2014? Barack Obama. And how did he become the president of the United States of America? Doors that were opened by civil rights laws, the voting rights law, which gave black folks the ability to vote. Okay? So they're looking at Obama as well. And so all these DEI programs, all of the civil rights laws, the voting rights laws, in their mind, has hurt them. And that's why they're either gutting those laws or twisting them to work on their behalf. Again, I covered all of this last year as I talked about Project 2025. Now, let me just show you that this is all a farce, that white men are suffering as bad as this gentleman just tried to make it sound. Total wealth ownership. As of 2024, households with a white householder made up 65.3% of the population, but held 80% of all total U.S. wealth. We could stop there. That undermines the whole argument that white men are suffering, that white men are being treated unjustly. They make up about 60-something% of the United States population, but control at least 80% of the wealth. That says that white males especially, are doing pretty good. So why not just say, the white men should just say, yeah, and we're trying to hold on to it. Well, just say that. But don't make the argument that you're victims. The Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, Fair Housing Act, they have not done all that we would have hoped that they've done. Us critical race theorists, for example, we ask the question all the time, why haven't they done more? So you're overstating the effectiveness of the civil rights laws. They did well. Don't misunderstand me. And we got to protect them. We just need more. But instead of getting more, white men are operating with this white rage and trying to destroy what is there based on this false notion that these laws, equity, diversity, inclusion, these policies, and so on, are in some way harming you when the data doesn't confirm that. The growing wealth gap. Between 2019 and 2022, the mean net worth gap between black and white households grew from $841,000 to over $1 million, and a 38% increase that far outpaced inflation. You're not doing bad. You're just making this up. You're just making this up because I guess you want total dominance. In other words, you want black folks to lose what they have so that you're not only controlling just an 80%. Who wants 80%? You want 99%. Millionaire status. Approximately 1 in 5 white households has a net worth over $1 million compared to just 1 in 20 black households. This is a farce. This is a joke. The stuff that J.D. Vance put out and that article, it is all a joke. Stock market dominance. White households are 1.9 times more likely to own stocks and mutual funds than white households and hold medium account values that are 6.4 times larger. Billionaire concentration. The top 10 richest Americans in 2025 are almost exclusively white men, with individuals like Elon Musk, Larry Ellison, Mark Zuckerberg leading the list. Boardroom resurgence. In 2025, white men regained the majority of new director appointments at S&P 500 companies, 55% for the first time since 2017. CEO dominance. White men hold an average of 56.63% of all corporate governance positions in Fortune 500 companies. Declining diversity. New appointments for non-white directors plummeted to 20% in 2025, a sharp drop from 44% in 2021. The traditional profile. Corporate boards are increasingly favoring a male, stale, and pale profile for CEOs to navigate current economic and political uncertainty. Now, let's go back now to Andrea Lucas, encouraging white men to file discrimination claims. Okay? It is based on 42 USC Code Section 2000E-5 and other related statutes. All right? Let's read a little bit of this because it's going to show you, and I want to show you what's behind all this, what they're really trying to accomplish here. Whenever a charge is filed by or on behalf of a person claiming to be aggrieved. So, if a white man walks in to the EEOC and files a charge, here's what happens. Let me read it again. Whenever a charge is filed by or on behalf of a person claiming to be aggrieved or by a member of the commission alleging that an employer, employment agency, labor organization, or joint labor management committee controlling apprenticeship or other training or retraining, including on-the-job training programs, has engaged in an unlawful employment practice, the commission shall serve a notice of the charge, including the date, place, and circumstance of the alleged unlawful employment practice, on such employer, employment agency, labor organization, or joint labor management committee, hereinafter referred to as the respondent, within 10 days, and shall make an investigation thereof. So you file a charge with the EEOC. The next thing that happens within 10 days is they start an investigation. Okay, that's what happens. I've handled these cases. If the commission determines after such investigation that there is reasonable cause to believe that the charge is true, the commission shall endeavor to eliminate any such alleged unlawful employment practice by informal methods of conference, conciliation, and persuasion. So, if they find, pursuant to their investigation, that there is some unlawful discrimination going on, then they would try to work with the employer to resolve it, to fix it. All right? If within 30 days after a charge is filed with the commission or within 30 days after expiration of any period of reference under subsection C or D, the commission has been unable to secure from the respondent, that's the employer, a conciliation agreement acceptable to the commission may bring a civil action against any respondent, not a government agency, or political subdivision named in the charge. So this is key. So if they're not able to work out a conciliation agreement, then what can the EEOC do? It can sue the employer. It can sue the employer. So it's kind of what we see happening with the universities, right? The ones that are buckling to Trump, giving him money, and then agreeing to implement this or that conservative principle. Again, to protect white male dominance. So that's what this is about. but they need white men to come to them with the cases. They need white men to come to them so that they can start the process of trying to get those corporations to stop DEI policies and to enter into conciliation agreements, or they're going to sue them. So the corporations, through this initiative, will start feeling even more pressure.
There you go, people. As we wind down our show, you heard from Reverend Augustus Colbert, Esquire. He's an attorney with the Defiant Lawyers Network. Check him out on his website. Just go search on YouTube for the Defiant Lawyers Network. Check him out. Great information. Again, people, I want to close with the show. We got a couple of minutes left from the griot. And for those who say we push race issues all the time on AOC, and the thing is, it's front and square. I mean, we don't have to talk about it. If y'all don't want to talk about it, don't listen. But when you have the top people from this area on the national level pushing this right here, anti-voting right key players on this poster right here, or from this area, Kevin Roberts, Jeff Landry, Liz Morrell, Nancy Landry. Those people are from this area. And it's shameful that we don't have any people in opposition publicly. It might be in opposition. No group, no organization, all the civil rights groups we have in this area, all the civil rights groups we have in this state are not in opposition calling these people out. And you have to call these people out for them to understand that we can't make it too comfortable for them to think, oh, we got these Negroes right here. We got them dancing in downtown Lafayette at the Cajun Dome. It's okay. So we got these Negroes so we could have our Project 2025 people spread out all over the country and do some damage because we could get them right here from Lafayette. And you saw it with Jeff Landry. Isn't it special that he's appointed that special envoy to non-existent relationship with Greenland, right? A non-existent title to support a person who acts MAGA all the time. So that's an agenda, people. Right here in Lafayette, it comes from. And we have those elected officials like Marcus Bryan and others, state representatives in this area, because they get mad when you call their name. And we got a special liaison with the mayor, president of Lafayette, who supposed to be serving the community. How you feel, man? Come on radio and TV on these little podcasts that you say is nothing. Come and talk about it if you're not scared. But I think more than likely you're scared. Because, you got a lot of people who are make-believe of another race. We call them Creoles. We don't call them black folks down here. Come on this show and talk about it. Come and debate either one. You don't have to debate me. You don't have to debate Mr. Kevin or Brother Wallace. Debate someone about, well, Brother Jay got it all wrong in his perception. Come on and debate. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. But anyway, let me stop that because people really get upset about that whole thing. But if people are losing everything, then who fault it is? Until next week, people, we'll see you next week on another edition of Real Talk TV.